All right, guys, welcome back to the garage. It's Tush coming at you, and we are just about to resume our 1959 Triumph TR3A restoration project. And I kind of outlined what the process is going to be for the winter in the previous video to this one. So you may want to step back and have a quick look at that video where we created a list basically on what needs to happen as far as order of sequence to be able to get this car back on the road eventually. There is the list that we talked about yesterday. So we are out here to focus on point number one, which is to mount the body tub. All right, I mentioned in yesterday's video that we'd done some pre-work on this car and determined that it was going to be a bit more of a challenge than first anticipated. We tried to bolt up the floor pan locations and found that the holes were really not matching. The holes in the floor were really not matching with the holes in the chassis. So we're just about to try to do a little bit more investigation to figure out what's going on there. Now, the only area that we have bolted up on the car currently, and that was actually a bit of a challenge the last time we worked on the car, were these mounting points here in the engine bay. There's one on each side, as you can see with these plates that go across the top. And then there are a couple of mounting areas up here at the front on either side of the radiator. Let me see if I can give a quick shot of these. So you can just see them here. This is the other pickup point for the front here, where the front of the body mounts. Those two areas are bolted up, but then we ran into the issues here with the floor pans in the rear. Maybe I'll show you in more detail exactly how the Triumph TR2, Triumph TR3 body tub mounts to the chassis, or the locations where they mount to the chassis. We'll use the diagram in the shop manual, and we'll show you the locations here on the actual car. For those of you that might be considering doing a body off restoration of a Triumph TR2 or TR3, or maybe you're in the midst of one already. All right, so we consulted the shop manual here, and it gives you a good breakdown of what exactly you need as far as the hardware is concerned. You see at the front mount here, it's saying that we need a washer and bolt for the front, and it also is telling me that I need 2 pads up here. So it's very specific on what you at least need to start from as far as the packings and hardware are concerned. There's also shims in here. They call them thick pads, thin pads, aluminum packings. So these are, in particular, these 2 areas are the ones I just showed you in the engine bay. So those are the first 2 locations that I've outlined to you. Then we start to get into the floor pan area, and we'll go over that. So here are those locations here. So there's a mount up here, and this is not aligning. So there's an amount of a bolt here that goes through, fairly long bolt, into a captive nut on the bottom of the frame. So that is an issue currently. Then we have a couple of mounting locations here and a couple of mounting locations here to the rear of the floor pan. And then we've got a mounting location here. And of course, it's the reciprocal on the passenger side floor pan. So that is the passenger compartment mounting bolt hole locations. Then we move to the back, and there's not much back here. There is an actual body mount. I don't know if I'll be able to show it to you back here. Probably not, but there's an actual body mount back here that bolts down. And then we've got these bumper bolts that go through and mount to the chassis as well. So all of those have to align. And like I said, that's becoming a bit of an issue on this car already, as none of the bolt hole locations really are working in the passenger compartment. So we're going to investigate why that's the case. And I've already started on the passenger side from underneath, having a look up to see how bad or how far off we are as far as those bolt hole locations are concerned. So going back over the manual here, I can just show you that there is that front mounting area in the floor pan. Then there's the 2 outrigger locations here and here. And then we go all the way to the back here where we've got the mounting location at the back of the chassis. And like I said, we have some through bolts that mount the bumper brackets on that actually attach to the frame at the rear as well. Those are kind of critical that those align. So we'll have to make sure that everything is alignment before we tighten everything down. We might have to jiggle things a little bit left and right to be able to get to these bolts to line up here in the very rear of the car. All right, here we are under the car, and this is the front outrigger in the floor pan area. Let me see if I can give you an idea where it is from the top of the car. So this is what we're looking at here. this bolt hole location at the front. So if I come back under here, sorry for the shaky camera, you can actually see the location of the outrigger, and you can see that I've got these rubber pads on top, and I believe it calls for 3 or 4 rubber pads according to the shop manual. So we've got those sandwiched in here. So what I want to do now is I want to remove these pads, and I want to see how closely the holes line up with the 2 bolt-up locations here, one here and one on the other side. Probably see it there. And we've got a couple of implements here we can stick through the top and see how closely we are aligned with the actual nut locations here, the captive nut locations here on the bottom of these outriggers. So I'm going to pull that shim pack out now, and we'll see how we're doing as far as alignment's concerned. All right, you may need to jack the car up a little bit, the body up a little bit, in order to remove the shim pack, because it's squeezed in there pretty good just with the weight of the body tub. So just have a block of wood here, and we're just pushing up on the sill here at the bottom to get that shim pack out. And you can see it there. I generally tape my shim packs together initially, at least, just to align them a little bit better. And then if I need to remove a shim, I just cut the tape with an X-Acto knife to be able to pull a shim out. But anyway, let's have a look at how we're doing as far as the alignment of these holes are concerned. All right, this should give you a pretty good indication of my dilemma here. You can see how far off the actual bolt hole locations are. It's got to be at least a ½ inch off on both sides, of course. So that hole there is completely covered. And then this one here, obviously the body tub would need to move forward significantly. And we're obviously in the same situation back here. I don't know if you can see with the rear here. That's quite a bit forward. You can see the light through there. So the body definitely looks like it needs to move significantly forward. You can see the location here at the rear. That needs to go forward as well. So the only problem is I don't believe I can move the body any more further forward. So I already have those 2 front mount locations. I did loosen up the engine bay mounting point locations. Just loosen them. I didn't remove them entirely. Well, let's see if we can get the body to push forward a little bit, and that will probably help us if we could be able to do that. But I don't think it's going to be possible. Let's see. All right, I think what we're going to do first, though, before we head to the front of the car, is we're going to go to the rear of the car here, get underneath it, and see how things are aligning back here as far as the bolt-up locations. And that will determine whether we can actually even try to move the car forward, depending if things are lining up back here. So let's have a look under the rear of the car. Okay, here's the rear body mount, and that is not aligning as well. The hole is significantly towards the rear, again, about another ½ inch or so. So this is leading me to believe that the body tub needs to go forward on the frame. So I don't think you're going to be able to see this, but you can just see, probably not with this light, you might be able to see, there's the hole there for the rear body mount, and it's not really anywhere close to where it needs to be as far as this is concerned. So let's see if we can loosen everything off and see if we can push the body tub forward. This hole here at the rear, you can just see that hole there, is where the bumper bracket bolts comes through and hooks up through the frame here at the rear. You can see the hole there in the frame. So that's another location that needs to be aligned. All right, maybe just a little bit better representation of how that bumper bolt goes through the frame. I've just stuck a pin through, and you can see where that comes through the body tub and hooks up through the frame here at the rear. So that's really important to get that aligned. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble when it comes to mounting the rear bumper overriders. All right, we've been playing around out here for a couple of hours, and what we've done is we've decided to start from scratch. So I've removed all the shim packs and all the shims. You can see one of the aluminum shims over there, which would actually go in this location here. Anyway, we've gone back to basics, basically, and took out all the shims, aligned the holes here on the floors, and we've all tapped them out as well, so they're nice and clean. So we've got all the bolt locations bolted up loosely here. We actually had a broken bolt over there that was quite fun to get out, so we spent probably 15-20 minutes just trying to get that out. So everything is looking good in here. So I think it's probably a good time to probably call it a night out here and go in and grab some dinner before it's too late. So anyway, that's looking good. Then we're going to move back up here to the front. Looks like I should be able to bolt these locations up here with a little bit of persuasion. Not sure about the other side. I haven't looked yet, nor have I looked at the front here. So anyway, what we'll do is we'll just continue to go. So this is going to be an issue here, it looks like. So anyway, we'll figure it out eventually, but at least all the bolt locations are done here and fastened loosely. So we'll move on to that front section followed by the rear section, or maybe we'll start from the rear and move to the front. Let's see. Anyway, we'll figure it out when we come out here for the next session, probably tomorrow night. See you then. All right, guys, it's another night out here. It's Friday night, so looking forward to the weekend and being able to spend some time out here in the garage. Anyway, where we left off yesterday is we got the fasteners located here in the passenger compartment. Again, we've removed all the shims, so we just actually have the body tub aligned without the shims or packing pieces at the moment. Now we're going to go to the back of the car. I think I mentioned that at the end of last night's video. We're going to go to the back of the car, see how things are aligning up there, maybe add a couple fasteners back there at the two body mount locations. Then we'll work our way back up to the front here where we removed all the fixing points up here to be able to get these located. Then we'll try to attempt to work our way forward to get these two areas on either side of the engine located, and then the front two locations on either side of the radiator back fastened. So wish me luck. See how it goes. All right, here we are back under the rear of the car, and you can see that I've got that one body mount fastener done up now, just done up loosely, basically, just to keep it there. And I also, let me see if I can keep the light here somehow. Jam it up here a little bit. Stay. All right, you can also see, probably, I've got this metal rod here coming through where the bumper bracket would be, and this theoretically should come through this bracket here if it's aligned properly. So let's see if we can get this to come through. There we go. So that looks pretty good as far as alignment is concerned with the rear valence. So we're good there. So we've got both sides done up now and both sides aligned with this bumper bracket bolt. So we should be good to go here on the rear. So let's move up to the front and see how we're making out up there. All right, here's where we're at, and this is where it's becoming an issue. So I managed to get the passenger side located pretty well with the plate here in the engine bay aligned and started. So we're good there. I managed to get the front mount started here at the bottom of the wheel tub, just beside the radiator. There's that pickup point there for the body mount. Now on this side, we're having major issues with the alignment here. You can probably be able to see this. So that is coming nowhere close to aligning with the holes down there. I don't know if you can see that. So that's coming nowhere close. So don't know what we're going to go there. And then if I have a look at this up here, down, maybe I can get down here real quick. There's a huge gap here in this front mount area. You can see the distance now. I can pull that down somewhat, but I'm having to force it down. I may actually force it down with a ratchet strap just to get the bolt in there and see if I can figure out what's going on with the structure, whether it's just been bent or whether it's hanging up on something. I'm not sure, but something's not right. And we'll have to figure out what that is on this side of the car. All right, good morning. We've broken the welder out this morning, not necessarily to do any welding, but this is a new to me machine and it was running flux core wire. So we wanted to switch over to gas shielded wire. So we've got the gas bottle hooked up with the flow rate done. We've changed the wire out. We've changed the tip out on the MIG gun itself. So we're pretty much ready to go. And I've just done a little test here, filling up those holes that we had over here in this wing mirror mount that were left here. So we've got those welded closed and we're just about to break out the grinder and grind that down. And while I've got the welder out, I may as well go ahead and fix these areas over here as well. I was thinking of just filling this with weld. It's a little low here, but if I put some weld here, that's obviously going to raise that area. And we've got this old antenna hole here that we're going to probably close up as well. We'll probably stick a washer in there to fill this and then sort of weld around the washer and then weld it closed. So I think that's a few little jobs I'm going to do this morning. I haven't welded in an awfully long time, so it's kind of fun to get back into welding, at least temporarily at least. So I think we'll, like I said, set up for this side and do a little bit of welding over on this side. All right, guys, just a quick update for you. So that little bit of welding is done here on the front fenders. Needs a little skim of filler, but not too bad. Better than it was. And the antenna hole is now covered up, so that's good. I did pop the boot and bonnet lids on just to see where we're at as far as gaps are concerned, and it's not a good story. And I knew it wasn't a good story because I'd attempted to fit this before, but I thought I'd just go back and revisit. So obviously, huge gap here on the passenger side along the front, and a very tight, non-existent gap in the front on the driver's side because the bonnet actually needs to even go further forward. It's not too bad here, but it's being prevented from being moved further forward by this tie bar up here, which is kind of a, the furthest you can push this forward because the tie bar is here and will stop it. So this definitely needs to go forward. It's preventing even the vent to be popped up. So that needs to go forward. So that leads me to believe maybe that I may have to move this tie bar at some point or think about moving the tie bar forward. But again, we're a little bit too early to make that decision. As far as the boot lid is concerned, it fits pretty well. As you can probably see, the gaps are not bad all the way around. Now it does sit up a little high here because I've got the wrong fasteners in here. Not necessarily the wrong fasteners, but you see washers in here. There should be no washers in these domed head fasteners. Actually get, they sort of go countersunk into these fenders or inner fenders. So that'll prevent that'll allow the trunk to sort of drop down and expand a little bit outwards to the right-hand side to fill that gap. So if I push this down, for example, it'll expand that out once those fasteners are correct. So I think we're going to be okay as far as the boot lid is concerned. So I think the next step for me now is to now go back and put in the shims in all the bolt-up locations where I've got everything bolted loosely at the moment, with the exception of those two fasteners in the engine bay, which do not align. And that could be having something to do, obviously, with this bonnet fitment up here. I'm going to do a little bit of calculations and see, maybe this inner fender here got put in the wrong location and it's moved back further towards the back of the rear of the car, which is preventing this gap or preventing the hood from moving forward on that tie bar. So that could be possible. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling at the moment, but we'll figure it out eventually. We're going to get there eventually, but I think the first thing to do right now is to put the shims back in, get everything bolted down, and see where we're at after that is done. All right, we did a little surgery here to make this fastener location line up. So we used a little rotary tool here, raspy thing, and we cut some slots and managed to get that plate to line up at least temporarily. I mean, we can always weld our slots closed later if this works out okay. Anyway, it's tight now. So all of the locations in the car have been removed with the exception of the two at the rear. And like I said, we're gonna go back now and try to pull all the packing pieces in and tighten those down solidly. Now that we have this location figured out, temporarily at least, we can go ahead and do that now. All right, pretty much took me all day. It's 6:30 p.m. and I think I started on this around 8 this morning. I know I did a few other little jobs on the car, but primary focus was on those body mounts. So it took a while to get them done, but they are all tight. So I can move on to the next step now, which is going to be refitting the front fenders and bolting them up at all locations. And then I think the next step for that will be to fit the doors and see how the doors fit. And then we might move back to the bonnet and just see how it fits now with everything tightened down. Fit the apron, the front apron again. And I know that's going to be a bit of a challenge already. But anyway, that will be for another day. I think we're going to have some dinner and relax for the evening. We'll get back out here tomorrow and spend another day out here. All right, we'll see you then. All right, Sunday morning and back in the garage. And as promised, we're going to start to hang some panels, including the doors today. So we have the doors out, which have been epoxied previously, quite a while ago. The hinges, which we'd cleaned up some time ago. And we just have the old hardware here soaking in some WD-40, just clean things up a little bit. Going to tap out the holes here in the door hinge locations and here on the body tub. And we'll get ready to hang the doors. Probably do the fenders first and then fit the doors and see where we're at. So that's about it. That's the plan for this morning anyway. Happy that we got all these body tub fasteners located and tightened down yesterday. It was quite the chore, spending a lot of time on the floor underneath the car with the packing pieces, getting things aligned. So anyway, happy that's done. All right, let's get to working on these doors and we'll come back, give you an update in a bit. All right, doors are on and they need some work, but I'm not absolutely horrified. So the gap is really, really tight here on this side. And we've got a bit of a stick out going on over here. And the body line's a little bit higher on the door versus the body. But the bottom gap is not too bad. It's fairly consistent, although that's going to come down on the rear a little bit, or the rear of the car is going to come up. We'll have to figure out what we're going to do as far as the fix is concerned for that. Now, driver's side, again, not horrified. This one sticks in at the top, as you can see. Got a big gap. Again, the body line's a little high versus the body line. And we got a pretty big gap in the rear and a pretty small gap in the front. So this obviously can go down. So, okay. So we got some work to do as far as the doors are concerned, but again, I'm not horrified that they're going to be not fitting at all at some point on this car. I know there are guys who have tried to fit doors and there's been absolutely no space to even fit the door in. Now, I might be horrified when I fit the fenders and see how the fenders fit versus the doors, but at least the doors fit somewhat well in the aperture. So anyway, we've got something to work with there. We did put the boot lid back on after I exchanged those screws out, the ones that had the washers on them, and I'm happy to say that we're going to be happy that we don't have to do a lot of work on the boot lid to make it fit. The gaps are pretty consistent. Again, I just stuck this on there, haven't played around with the hinge points at all. It is locked, so it looks pretty good. Pretty consistent gaps all the way around. And again, remember there's a fender beading that goes in here, so a lot of this won't be seen. So there's a piece of beading that goes all the way across here, so the top of this inner trunk lip won't be seen. But that looks pretty good. So I'm happy about that. So one less panel to worry about, which is a good thing. All right, I think what I'm gonna do now is fit the fenders. Like I said, I probably should have fitted the fenders before I fitted the doors. But let's see what we can do as far as fitting the fenders and see how they fit up against the doors and the front apron. All right, I got a couple broken cage nuts here on the very bottom of this fender. So we're going to grind off the cages. We're just going to use a little finger, can you get that in there? Finger sander, 36 grit belt on it. So we'll just grind those off for now. We'll put bolts in there. We'll replace the cages at a later time. But we want to fasten that fender fully, so we'll just put a regular bolt there for now. Should be okay. I think the bolt head will be fine. And that'll be good for now. And then we'll fit the apron. All right. All right, guys, time for an update. And I think what we'll do first is we'll look at the fender to door gaps on the driver's side. So here we are at very, very tight gaps, a little too tight for comfort, but fairly consistent top to bottom until we get up here. And of course, we already know the issue with the door and that top saddle piece. And we've seen the issue with the door gap at the back here. So again, I'm not overly concerned at this point. We can still play around with shims. So we're gonna do that. We'll have to do that, of course. I didn't expect this to go just together perfectly. So I understood there was gonna be work ahead to get this to fit together. So that's what that side looks like. Let's have a look at the passenger side. And over here, got a little wider gap on the bottom. We got narrower at the top, and then it's fairly consistent from here to here, although it's a little narrow here. So we need to do some work on the door gaps there. And again, we have this door stick out on this side. And need a little work at the rear as far as the door height adjustment is concerned. But again, not too bad. If we take a look at the bonnet, and again, it's just sitting on here. The good thing that's encouraging is The side gaps are quite good. It's a little wide up there, actually at the body tub, but this will pull in a little bit. There's a fastener I haven't done that goes here that pulls from the inside of the car, which will bring that fender in a little bit. But the gaps are pretty consistent all the way down. This side's better. But we still have that issue with the bonnet fitment here. I mean, you can't really tell because the bonnet needs to go back, but I've got a huge gap here in the front and no gap there on the driver's side. So this is a bit of an issue that will have to be resolved. I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some cage nuts to the front valence. There are no cage nuts on here, so I can't actually fasten it to the car at all. So what I think I'll do is I'll just add some temporary cage nuts so we can get this attached and see what it actually looks like with a valence attached to the fenders and see if I can get the height correct. It does have a lot of damage here at the front passenger side nose. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but it's had a lot of hammer and dolly work here, or a lot of hammering at least in the past. So the driver's side much better, so we can use that as a template. But I'm trying to see how this fits up in general anyway, as far as the curvature of the fenders is concerned and as far as the height of the fenders. So like I said, to enable me to do that, I need to put some cage nuts on here so I can actually fasten that up and tighten it down. So I think we'll do that now. There's the update as far as the body is concerned. So lots of work ahead, but not too discouraging at the moment anyway. All right, we've got all the cage nuts reinstalled on both sides. So time to fit it up to the car and bolt it up tight and see where we're at. All right, end of weekend update, basically. It's been such a long time since I've been able to spend 2 full days on the weekend out here in the garage. It's been great. Anyway, where we left off was fitting that front apron or front valence, whatever you want to call it. And we've got it all fitted up and tightened down now. And surprisingly, doesn't actually fit that bad. So it fits along here pretty well. And then we get some damage in here, which we had talked about earlier. But as far as the fitment is concerned, it's actually not bad, realistically. And we're going to get the hammer and dolly out and do some work here. But the passenger side's not bad. We'll move on to the driver's side. And again, it's pretty good. You got a little bit of a stick out here, but not bad. And that follows up pretty nicely as far as the level of the fender is concerned. And again, there's going to be a piece of beading that goes in here as well. So all in all, that fit pretty well considering. Yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll dig out the grill and we'll make sure that the grill fits in the opening properly. We did create some new mounting holes down here for the bottom of this this lip piece. And obviously we need to fill in the holes where the lights would have been for the 57. So we'll just weld in some new pieces there so we can do the attachment points down here. But that's looking pretty good. So the only thing I'm going to do, I think, for the rest of the tonight is put the bonnet on. And I'm sure it's still not going to fit well at all. But, you know, considering that most of the other panels fit not too bad, we can actually work with them. I'm pretty happy. So we'll throw the bonnet on. We'll come back maybe with one last update for the evening. And then we'll figure out what we're going to do for the next few days out here when we get back out here to work on the car. Let me throw the bonnet on. All right, bonnet's on, and as expected, it really hasn't changed much as far as the gaps are concerned. So still have a huge gap here on the passenger side. And I talked about possibility of moving that tie bar, but obviously the front valence fits where it's at. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do there. One other thing to note is this hood line or the bonnet follows the curvature of this over here pretty well. Obviously it's a little sunken down, but that will be corrected when the hinges are installed. It will pull that back up, but the curvature is good here. If we go on the driver's side, we have an issue over here. And you can see there's a gap here, and it doesn't really follow the curvature of this. So again, not sure what I'm going to do there, but if I was somehow be able to lay this back to bring this, you know, down and forward a little bit, that would probably fix the gap issue here at the rear. It would probably fix the gap issue here at the front, at least on the driver's side. That would give us a little bit of a gap up here. And anyway, I'll have to think about how I'm going to correct that. But for now, that will be something just to ponder. We'll worry about that a little bit later on. I think the next process for me will be to get the wood installed back underneath the dash and to bring the windscreen up and fit the windscreen and see how that fits with all the other panels. And then probably go on from there and figure out a plan of action to figure out how we're going to close up these gaps. Some of it's going to mean playing with shims, removing and adding shims. So that will be fun. It's always a bit of a challenge and a test of patience to get the gaps sorted out. But anyway, it's got to be done as part of the process. So anyway, I think we'll call it here. It's probably going to be a fairly long video as it is. And anyway, like I said, enjoyable weekend out in the garage. And it's good to see the car coming back to life. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. And thanks for subscribing. And we'll see you on the next video.